Hello to everybody from Tiverton Bead and Wool Shop, and this hopefully reasonably short video will be to help you to knit with beads, because we have created really nice new product and it's been quite popular, but some of you who haven't tried to knit with beads are a bit put off because you don't know how to do it. It is very easy, very simple, and I will try to demonstrate to you. And the kits we have made are for little fingerless gloves. And as you can see here, in a kit you will have two versions of beaded pattern, and this one is one and there is the other one, right? And the kit will contain pattern, needles, obviously yarn, as well as all the beads and the long eye needle. And again, I will show you how to use it, because the long eye needle's been a bit confusion for some of you. Right, so what we will start, I have printed out a little chart which I will try to show you how to knit, and every square is a stitch, and the dark square is a stitch with a bead. And what we will need to start with is to cast on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches. Oh, sorry, not cast on, we need to thread the beads, don't we? And there is the long eye needle. And it's a needle with a little secret, because if you will look for eye on the needle, you will possibly not find it, and then you suddenly find out when you gently twist it that the needle opens up like that. Can you see it? Can you see? That's why it's called long eye, because eye is from there to there, which allows you even to put a really chunky yarn in there. And as far as the double thickness of the yarn there goes through to your bead, you can thread mohair, you can thread crystals on very fine lace using this needle, so it's really good. So, and I will be using, for demonstration purposes, so you can see, I will not be using very fine beads, but I will be using one of the biggest ones we have, and the ones which are really comfortably going on my super chunky yarn, which I will be demonstrating with. And the first thing is, there is more finer explanation on a pattern, but this pattern will require 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 beads. So I have put one on already on my yarn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Lucky 13. And now I will take my needle off. Oops. Yes, I will take my needle off. Put it back in the case, because you can save it for your later work. And because it's super chunky yarn, I'm using quite large needles. But obviously you will match your needles to yarn you will be using. And I will cast on the 7 stitches, which we will pause the video now, because you just use your favorite cast on method. And as you can see, as the chart required 7 stitches, so I have 7 stitches. So, and the first row, as per chart, is all the clean squares, which means I would need to knit the 7 stitches. And as you can see, my beads are traveling down the thread, and that's it. And I'm sorry, I'm knitting continental, because that's how I was taught, and if you will try to ask me to knit English way, I just can't do it. And I'm just knitting the first row like that. 7 stitches shouldn't take too long. And now turn your work, and we will be doing garter stitch, which means knitting all rows. But now I'm looking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my bead should be 1, 2, 3 empty stitches, and the bead should be on a 4th stitch. And now hopefully my little camera girl will show you a bit more close. So we're knitting the first 3. 1, 2, 3. That's 3 empty stitches. And now we need a stitch with a bead. So we pull the first bead up, right? We leave the bead in the back of your work and we knit this stitch. And this is the stitch with the bead, right? The bead is sitting between the previous and the beaded stitch in the back of your work. And now, as per chart, I knit 3 empty. Right. And I'm turning my work, and now I will do just a knit row without any beads. So the chart really shows you row 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on. The return rows are not shown. So which I'm trying to do now quickly. The only thing you need to make sure when you get to your bead stitch, make sure that this bead hasn't traveled up and down and it still sits between the stitches. So it has its nice little space. There. Now we are back on the next row where I will have 1, 2 empty stitches and 3 stitches with beads and 2 empty. So which means one, 2 empty, and now I have to have 3 stitches with beads. And sometimes when I have fraction like that, where one after other, I pull all 3 beads up. And what you do, oops, these ones are sliding. Normally the beads don't slide so up and down because these ones have really large holes. But that's anyway. So you leave your bead behind the work, knit your stitches normal, and now you have the next stitch again. You slide your bead down, oops, like that. With smaller beads it's easier because they don't escape. They stay where you put them. 2, and there is the 3. Right, and now I have 2 stitches left in a chart without the beads. 2 there, and 1 and 2. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I will knit a couple rows. We will pause the video. I will repeat the rows in the middle to give you a better idea how it builds up. And as you can see, I have been doing my beading, and because these beads are quite large and the wool is quite chunky, it may be not the best, but at least you can see how the pattern forms. And now I have done the last 3 beads there, and now my next row will be 3 singles, 1 bead, 3 singles. Okay, so and I have 1 bead somewhere traveling around this thread. I actually found knitting with beads, it took me a lot of trial and error and different thicknesses and different size of beads, and I actually find that the finer yarn you use and the tighter knitting you do and the smaller beads, the better your beadwork look. If you want just random selection of beads on the end of your scarf, then anything goes really. But if you want more precise geometrical design, like we had on our, what happened to our samples? I have put it in a kit. Right. Some lucky buyer will have them. So if you want something a bit more geometrical and more precise, you need to go for really fine sock yarn, and you need to go for fine beads. Anything else just makes it look a little bit messy. So now I need to place my last bead, just a last reminder. So I'm on this stitch, so I pull the bead up, knit the stitch, and the bead is locked in before the stitch. So that is a little nick which you kind of need to remember, that the dark square in your graph or chart is the bead before the stitch. All right. So, and that now resembles square. Now I would finish with the knit row back and cast off if I need to, or continue. But as you can see, the beads, even these really large and chunky beads on a chunky wool, do create reasonably geometric pattern. And that's it. So hope you enjoy it, and of course go for the finer work.